Well, we're happy to have Eleanor Schumacher with us tonight, and she comes to us from Pocahontas, Illinois. I haven't been there, but she tells me it's near St. Louis, so she traveled a bit to get here. As I read through her biography, I thought, oh my goodness, this lady wears lots of hats. So just listen. First of all, she's an Illinois pollination ecologist. She's the state coordinator of Pollinator Partnership's Project Wingspan, and she's been doing that since 2021. She's also an Illinois Department of Agriculture apiary inspector, and she's been doing that since 2010. She received her master's degree in natural resources and environmental sciences from the U of I in 2018. And in addition to that, she's a beekeeper. She's a prairie keeper. She lives on a dairy farm with her husband. She manages 4 small prairie restorations, 2 pollinator gardens, 20 beehives, and has a cat sanctuary. She's also a multi-instrumentalist in a progressive rock band called Cheer Accident. So I've given you a whole list of things, and I was just amazed by the time I got to, what is the program about? Well, of course I knew what the program was about. That's why I had contacted her in the beginning. But she talks about seed gathering, and you'll learn more about that tonight. And I like her words that it's prairie keeping, and it's a ritual of seed gathering. And I thought, isn't it really? We watch these plants come up in the spring, we watch them develop, and then we see them with their seeds, and like, what do we do? So tonight we're going to learn that from her. And so, Eleanor, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Kathy. Is this microphone working well? If I walk away from that microphone, you can still hear me? Fantastic. Thank you very much for introducing me. I forgot all the things I wrote on there. It's kind of ridiculous. I'm like, oh, thinking to myself, oh, do I really want everyone to know about the cat sanctuary and the band? But it's all important because I feel like you only live once. And you should do everything you can. You should do everything you can. If everybody did everything they could do, if everyone did everything they were passionate about, what kind of a world would we live in? Let me get this really tucked away. There, it should be good. Okay, so prairie keeping is one of those passions, but it's a word we don't really use, and I think it's one that we should. How many people here know a beekeeper? Raise your hand if you know a beekeeper. Raise your hand if you are a beekeeper now. Raise your hand if you are a beekeeper. All right. What is your last name? What are your last names? Bertha, okay. I know a lot of beekeepers because of my job with the Department of Agriculture. I get to travel the state. And that's one way that I came to get to know so many prairies around the state. It's also one way that I decided prairie keeping should be in our vocabulary. Beekeeping is a passion that people have an easier time relating to. It's a well-known way that people have interfaced with nature, and we get a sweet product out of it. The buzz about what's happening to the bees, what's happening to pollinators, started getting scary about 20 years ago. More people started keeping bees as a result. They wanted to save bees. And through that, more people became interested in saving pollinators. And we're always adding more people to this effort. Prairie keeping can take it even further. It's really exciting to identify yourself as a beekeeper. It gives you an additional identity, makes a lot of us feel like we're contributing. We're also proud of the fact that we're putting food on the table. We're also a great interface with agriculture when sometimes it's been easy to point fingers. What's happening to the pollinators? It's the pesticides, it's the farms. Well, it's really nice to be able to stand over the line with one foot on each side. Beekeeping is agriculture, beekeeping is nature. And beekeepers can do a great job of interacting with farmers, farmers who are protecting the environment, farmers who are interested in wildlife. Beekeeping is a really great door to go back and forth between that and help bring together the idea of agriculture, the idea of saving pollinators, and making it something that everyone can do together. So the idea of prairie keeping is taking it one step further. What makes bees healthy? Raise your hand. Everybody knows. What's the biggest problem for bees and pollinators? They don't have enough to eat. The habitat is missing. And so it's one thing to save the bees by having a box of them on your property. It's another thing to save bees by having a huge food pantry at your house. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about what Project Wingspan is doing to help people start to see themselves as prairie keepers and start to build an additional passion in their lives. So I'm Eleanor Schumacher. You already heard about all the things I do. I do keep busy, that's true. Gotta downsize. Does anybody need a kitten? Cat Sanctuary is a little crowded right now. Project Wingspan, I've been really enjoying working on this project. When I went back to school, this was kind of the dream job. What if I could travel all around prairies and collect native wildflower seeds with volunteers? Lo and behold, one of my research advisors told me about this position opening up as a Project Wingspan, a state coordinator, and I felt so lucky to get it. So now I can tell you what it's all about. We are increasing the quality, the quantity, and the connectivity of the imperiled pollinator habitat areas across the Midwest and Great Lakes landscape. This has been going on since 2016, and sometimes it's been a bigger program encompassing about 8 Midwestern states. Right now, we are Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Illinois is the strongest state, and it's very exciting. We have awesome participation and support throughout the state. It's really exciting for me to be talking to you tonight. It's an awesome honor to be here, and it's very timely because the Bloomington Normal team is it's growing every year, and especially today, we just solidified our big event that we're going to hold October 10th with Parks and Rec. We're going to be doing a seed collection event here Friday, October 10th at Anderson Park, Underwood Park, and Hidden Creek Nature Sanctuary. So I'll give you information about that soon. I'm so excited about it. So let me tell you about our seed collection teams, what we're doing out there, the species we're collecting, how you can make seed collection part of your annual routine, and how you can get involved with Project Wingspan. So Project Wingspan has 3 steps. We collect, we clean, and we award the seeds. So we form leadership teams, we train volunteers, we create and promote a network, and we collect regionally. What does that mean? What it means is we're really not a seed collection initiative just about us, just about getting the seeds from Project Wingspan so we can clean them and we can award them under our name. What we're also about is the network. We want to sort of be part of the umbrella that brings all the organizations across Illinois together. Wild Ones, Prairie Enthusiasts, Audubon Society, Master Naturalists. I don't want to leave anyone out. Native Plant Society. And also just the individuals out there, the prairies, people managing their own habitat. Just a way to bring more people together and also, oops, I jumped ahead. And also a way to promote the best management practices and how-tos of collecting seeds so everybody benefits. Volunteers can be trained for anyone's initiative, and we're happy to do it. It's part of our objective. So the next step is cleaning and growing the seed. We started when we were a smaller program, getting all of our seed cleaned at an IDNR facility, Mason State Tree Nursery. This got a little bit too big. It was a little too hectic for them. And so now, every year lately, we're shopping around to different facilities to see who can handle our seed load. Get it all clean, inspected, and then grow out plugs. It's pretty neat, the individuals who do grow out our plugs for our seed awards. Right now, we're working with a guy named Jim Allwill. Does anyone know him? He's out east. He's getting closer. He's off of the I-80 corridor, and he's or out west. He's getting closer to Quad Cities, and he is just an individual with a lot of knowledge, a great greenhouse, and he's doing all of our plugs this year, so we're very excited. And then the last thing we do is award the seeds and plugs. We put out a habitat survey and have people fill out information about their prairie management, how long have they been keeping a prairie, how long do they commit to keeping a prairie, and how do they deal with invasive species, how do they annually manage their prairies. We pick the best prairies, and then we award seeds and we award plugs. This is our list that we're collecting this year. We've actually reduced it a little bit. We used to collect 30 species. That was a lot of fun for me, running around the state and knowing just where some of these precious species were. I feel precious about smooth blue aster. I don't see that everywhere. So wherever I knew that was, made sure to get some of that. Now we are scaling it back a little bit as we are in between some of our seed processors and plug growers, just to make it more simple. We have a little bit of a reduced list. A lot of very common species, easy to grow, easy to get started, good at footholding in the prairie. But there's still some pretty neat stuff out there in here that you don't see everywhere. Maryland senna, you don't see that everywhere. That's an exciting one. Love to have the lagoons on the list. Really great for wildlife. And let's see, you really don't see butterfly milkweed everywhere. So it's really fun to bring that in. Sneezeweed, so excited that's on there. You don't see that everywhere. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really fun when you've done this a few years as a volunteer and you know where some of these special species can be found, and then we go there, we bring them in, and we're able to award them to diversify some of the prairies that apply for awards. So yes, it's a lot of fun for me. I just get really excited. So this was the old footprint of the program. And each state in the program is divided into 2 or 3 bioregions. And that way we're able to keep the species local. Local ecotypes, sometimes the definition of local is different depending on who you're working with. Some prairies are very strict. So a local ecotype has to come from within 30 miles. Our definition of local ecotype really just follows the USDA, thank you, yeah. So we just pretty much follow climate regions. Will we have to adapt this with changing climate? We may. So let me show you a map of where we're actually collecting. We have 32 teams across the state, over 40 partnering prairies, and this is what our map looks like between teams and prairies that partner with us. We have pretty good coverage. It would be great to fill in some of the holes. We have a good distribution between the bioregions. We train and certify all of our volunteers, and that's one reason why a lot of prairies are willing to work with us. Everyone needs to be trained in the safety and best management practices of collecting seeds, so harm isn't done to the prairies. We don't want to trample species. We don't want to collect species that aren't on our list. And we also don't want anyone getting hurt, don't want anyone getting poison ivy. There's a lot of ins and outs. So we do train and certify people both online and in person. We train people in plant identification, how to scout a population, the best management practices of seed collections. Viability testing is really important in the field, especially in a year like this where it is so dry. A lot of seeds are getting ready, but sometimes in a drought year, some of the seeds don't mature properly. So someone could be spending a lot of time snipping seed heads that are empty or have seeds that don't have an embryo in them and aren't viable. So we do viability testing in the field. It's not difficult. Data collection protocols, so we can keep track of everything we're bringing in and make sure we're assigning species the right names, we're collecting everything properly, and documenting where it came from. And then we teach everyone how to label the seeds as they come in, how to dry them out properly, and how to ship them safely. So here are some of my local seed collecting volunteers that I work with a lot. They come from my neck of the woods, and they are diehard. They're wonderful, and they've been with me the whole time. This guy is one of my BFFs. I call him my prairie dad. His name is Larry. And this is Connie, who I didn't even hear from this year. I sent out an email to all the volunteers, and she didn't even email back. Well, she leads, she's one of the strongest team leads in the state, and she leads 15 events a year in the St. Louis area on the Illinois side. And the reason why I didn't hear from her, she just told me this morning, is because, oh, we got this, we're good, don't worry. I was getting ready to tell you. It's all under control. Great, that's wonderful. And we do love people who take that kind of initiative and make this project their own. It makes it so that I can get around the state and get more teams going as strong as her team. Okay, yes, so these are the prairie keepers. And that's kind of why I don't hear from her anymore. She's very established in her prairie keeping identity. It's who she is, and I think she thinks I should know that. I'm going to show you some more prairie keepers in my world and tell you about some in your world. Don't let me forget to tell you about Alex Harris, who is a prairie keeper here, who helped me get the Bloomington Normal team started. So how do we create a prairie keeping culture? Who here already considers themselves a prairie keeper? Okay, great. Great. There's a lot of people that don't yet. How many people here would like to be prairie keepers? That's more hands. Good, good, good. That's what I want to see. Okay, it's not that hard. It's really all you got to do is step outside a little more and roll up your sleeves a little bit, get your hands on some seeds, get some seeds to the soil. And you don't even need your own prairie. You can volunteer in a local prairie. Example, we have 3 wonderful prairies with Parks and Rec here in Normal, and I know they would benefit from volunteer work. There's sometimes a little bit of invasive species here and there. Sometimes one of these prairies might be diversified a little bit. What if Normal wanted to apply for a Project Wingspan Plug Award, which I'm going to encourage them to do, but I don't want to pressure them because I know they're very busy managing what they have. But with volunteer help, it would be easy for them to step forward and say, we will take 500 plugs to improve our habitat at Anderson Park. So yeah, being a prairie keeper can mean helping out your community and improving that pollinator habitat if you really only have an acre or less to work with yourself. So talk about creating a prairie keeping culture. Here is a prairie keeper. Now, this isn't exactly a traditional prairie. And this is a beekeeper, someone who found a very enriching identity as a beekeeper. and she wanted to take better care of them. So she began to create her bee food garden. She didn't have a large space to work with, so what she did was create a wonderful, very diverse pollinator garden all around her house and yard. She's got Joe Pyeweed. She's obviously got purple coneflower, several different kinds of native goldenrods that are beneficial, mountain mints. It's a wonderful tour to walk through there, and she is extremely happy. This is also a person who has battled with some autoimmune disorders, and becoming a prairie keeper was very healing for her. It helped her become more active, it helped her relieve stress, and just that connection to nature and being outside was really good for vitamin D levels and just being active, having a passion. Here's another friend of mine, another beekeeper. He was able to move out to his family farm. One thing he noticed when he put out his beehives were these beautiful yellow flowers come up every year. And you know, Dad never did till this ground. He just grazed it. So he was trying to get some help to burn his acreage so we can see what other seeds might be in the soil, what other species might be in a dark diversity. Does anyone know what dark diversity is? This is a term that I love. It's basically, you might look at this man's prairie and say, well, that's just black-eyed Susans. And I know later on you're probably gonna have some goldenrods, maybe some asters. The really strong competitive stuff. Dark diversity is there's actually likely lots of other species still there. But because of the pressure from the very strong species in some of the grasses, you're not gonna see them bloom. They're gonna be suppressed by the stronger species. Dark diversity, when you start managing for diversity of species with fire, for example, or sometimes some people will use grass herbicide to knock some of those grasses back, then you may start seeing some of these other species that haven't been seen on that property for decades. And I will show you an example of a prairie that experienced just this when I get there. I'm not there yet, but I will. So talking about prairie keepers, yes, this man, Larry, another Larry, my friend, he is now a prairie keeper too. The beekeeping really brought him full circle into connection with what it means to be part of the ecosystem himself, what his passion as a beekeeper, and knowing what they need to be healthy, how that connects to a healthier world. So he is a prairie keeper. And here are some more prairie keepers, my friends again, and another one, being in Normal. We're pretty far north. You probably don't know this figure, Marty Kemper. It's really important down south. Does anyone know Marty Kemper? He's a retired heritage biologist, and he has a fantastic restoration of 10 acres, and he has taught so many master naturalists in Southern Illinois how to collect seeds, species identification, and how to process seeds. It's another really important and fun part of being a prairie keeper. So here is that prairie I was talking about. This is Horn Prairie in Ramsey, Illinois, also pretty far south. You see this little cabin up there. This was a little deer cabin. I live outside of St. Louis by about 45 minutes in Pocahontas. Highland is another town in our area, right next door to us. A man who owns a construction company, Keith Horn, he bought this acreage out about an hour away from Highland, out east. And it was like what you saw with Larry's picture, some black-eyed Susans coming up. He was really excited for this piece of nature. He was gonna hunt deer. But he was interested too because it wasn't just black-eyed Susans. There were a couple other species, like some ironweed would start to bloom. Maybe a little bit of silphium would show itself, a compass plant or a prairie dock. So he wanted to see how he could manage that and help the native species out a little bit. He started to burn about 25 years ago. Every year he would do a burn, he would learn more about how to manage a prairie, and every year he would see a new species. And so something that was a disturbed pasture that cows had grazed on for decades, because it was never plowed, because it was there was never herbicide used, all of these species were still there. The root systems were intact. They were there in dark diversity existing. And so his management with the burning annually brought all these beautiful species out, and now it's something like 375 species have been found on his 40-acre prairie, a remnant prairie. So it's hard if you travel in the country a lot, and I do for my job as an apiary inspector. I get to go to a lot of apiaries, beekeepers' sites in remote places, and they may be places like my friend Larry, where you saw his beehives and the black-eyed Susans out there and lots of grass. Knowing that a lot of these lands haven't been tilled, haven't been burned with herbicide, and wondering how long this clock is ticking for these species that are laying there semi-dormant, needing care. How much remnant prairie do we really have? And then seeing some of these lands get turned over to agriculture sometimes, or taken over by invasive species, wondering how long these species, these prairie species, can survive the invasive species taking over. So you just don't know how long. And that's why getting it out there, people becoming prairie keepers, people hearing the word prairie keeper more is really important right now. The more people can hear that there is something called a prairie keeper, the more people might want to become a prairie keeper, to find out how you can have that healthy connection to the land, how you can be the person who is the steward for saving the pollinators. So dark diversity is pretty important, and we may not have much time to get the message out there. If you have some ground and you don't know what's there, but you see a few remnant species blooming, try some fire, learn how to do it. We'll talk a little bit about that. So, part of being a prairie keeper is creating a network of friends, and that is what you're doing here in Wild Ones. That's what you're doing as a master naturalist, and this is one of my friends who has really helped me become a prairie keeper. That's a funny thing about being a prairie keeper. For the beekeepers here, your first year you get bees. You are a beekeeper, you win. You get to put that name tag on. And then you find out as you go year after year, you might not know what you're doing, and the bees die over the winter until you really learn how to care for them. So being a prairie keeper is kind of the same way. You can get started with some species, you can get a garden going, you could even get a prairie going over some acres, and after some time you might realize there's not a lot of diversity, there's not a lot of different species here. What do I do? Because am I really helping pollinators and wildlife that much? Well, you can get someone who has a lot more experience than you. And if they're a wonderful person like my friend Lori Henderson, they'll come over and they'll put you through the ringer. So Lori Henderson came to my house. We were actually headed to Ramsey to collect seeds at that Horn Prairie I just showed you the picture of. And she took a look at my potted plants, which are awful and ugly, petunias. She said, "What is this?" "My potted plants, Lori, I'm really busy. I work 2 jobs. I have a cat sanctuary. I'm in a band, I know, but I don't have time. I don't have time for a pollinator garden, so please don't guilt me." She said, "You have to water these every day, and do you like how they look?" I said, "Please, Lori, you know I'm too busy for this." She said, "Pollinator gardens are perfect for busy people because you don't have to water them. The species come back every year. A little bit of weeding is perfect. You'll love it. Stress reduction." I said, "Lori, I don't know if I want to be your friend right now, but then she took it a step further. She lawn shamed me. Yeah. So this is a great way to create prairie keepers, lawn shaming. And so I just couldn't get it out of my head. Like, I know she's right. How can I call myself a prairie ecologist and I'm watering petunias? And this is what my house looks like. So I didn't even talk to my husband about it. I went right home and I just sprayed this 6-foot barrier around my whole porch, wrapping around my house, and I killed all that grass. And, oh, let me come back to that. And then the next spring, I had a bunch of seeds growing in flats. I created a nice German barrier, Schumacher. I married into a German family. We have to have straight lines. It has to be easy to mow. So I took these rocks and some agricultural plastic and made a nice barrier. That's still there today. My brother-in-law comes in and he mows right up. Nobody has a bad thing to say about this prairie. My husband loves it. He didn't care that I didn't ask him. It's wonderful, because he's a farmer that cares about wildlife. A lot of farmers do. Let me come back to this. So she wasn't just helping me by lawn shaming me. She was helping the environment and helping all of us. And here's an interesting figure that comes from a study done in 2021 called 8 Simple Actions That Individuals Can Take to Save Insects from Global Decline. The idea is that if every home, school, and local park in the United States converted 10% of their lawn space into natural habitat, this would increase usable habitat for insects by more than 4 million acres. And converting lawns into natural habitat is relatively easy. 10% is actually a lot. That takes all hands on deck, really. Obviously, I've got a long way to go till I get to 10%, but it's something you can chip away at a little bit every year, maybe 1% more every year. So you can do like Lori, you can help a friend plant a pollinator garden. Suggest to them, maybe you want to plant a pollinator garden. Here's some benefits. Nag them. Lori certainly did. Bring them plants. Help them plant the plants. And that's what Lori did. She said, I will bring you plants if you put in a pollinator garden, and I will help you plant them. Well, I forgot she said that. And I went and killed my grass. And then there she was, Pollinator Week. She helped me install plants from her garden and plants I had grown too. And I'll show you pictures. Connect people with resources. That's really important too. If you're getting into a conversation with someone who is interested in native plants, might like to have a pollinator garden or even a prairie, point them in the direction where they can find out more. Have them come to a meeting here, or find someone at the university that might be a botanist. Encourage them to look into master naturalists, or your local soil and water conservation district will have programs. There's also a program for anyone who has 2 acres that you would like to convert to pollinator habitat. It's called the Bee and Butterfly Fund. Everybody that applies for that and completes the application process, I'm pretty sure everybody gets seeds if they have that 2 acres. So the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund is a great program to get people started. Also, Project Wingspan for projects that are already established. It's actually in Illinois, it's very easy to get an award as long as you have a management plan and you can show that you're taking care of your pollinator habitat, especially if you are a volunteer for a day. That puts you up at the top of the list to get an award. We collect so much seed in Illinois, so that's a great way to expand and enhance your pollinator habitat. But even, you can also send people my way. I'm happy to help connect people with resources too. So this is my garden right after we installed it in 2023. And this is what it looked like a month later, getting a little bit of bloom. And this is what it looked like a year later. And that summer, a year after we planted it. You're seeing some species that aren't necessarily the most native. Lori did bring me some red bee balm. I did find out that it's native, not in my county, but more northwestern Illinois. And the hummingbirds love it. So she brought me a lot of things that the hummingbirds love, and it's really fun for me to watch them. Those flowers tend to lean away from the garden, which is good, or away from the porch, which is good, because if you look, you can see some cats lying there. Cats might like to eat a hummingbird, but they can't reach them because they're sleeping on the porch. This is my cat sanctuary, part of it. Here's another. We take the kittens and we put them away at night so the owls don't eat them, because owls do love to eat kittens. I hate to tell you that, but everyone should know. So a lot of things growing on the north side of my house. Pretty amazing that the part of my house that gets a lot of shade is really strong. Things like orange cone flower. There's so many species that are doing really well. The Culver's root, the ironweed, those were all tolerating some shade. Turtlehead. Lori brought me so many wonderful species. Columbine did great. So being a prairie keeper, you can really cover the whole process from seed to plant to garden. One fun thing I encourage volunteers to do when they come with me to the prairies to collect seeds for Project Wingspan, take a seed head home for yourself. One seed head will create a whole flat's worth of seedlings and more. A lot of seed heads have hundreds of seeds in them, and even if you take one seed head and sprinkle it over 25 to 50 cells, you might find that you still have hundreds of plants. Each cell might grow 5 or even 10 of those species. So it can be problematic, actually. This was probably 25 different seed heads, 25 different flats. It ended up being thousands of plants that I didn't feel good about letting them die, so I had to find homes for them. It was very easy to grow them. They really wanted to grow, have seed, have soil, have winter. The seeds will take care of the rest. Have water. I put it all on a watering timer, and every morning at 6 a.m., the sprinkler would come on, and I didn't have to think about it. They would get watered every day on their own. When it got hot out, and I moved them to a back area on the farm, I set the watering timer for twice a day. The watering timer wasn't expensive. You pick a good one, and you don't have to worry too much about it. Maybe check the batteries once a month, and also check to make sure that weeds aren't growing up in front of the sprinkler to block the stream of water, and you can have your seedlings surviving an entire year if you can't find homes for all of them. So you can end up with your own nursery. This was my native plant nursery. Definitely had its problems. This was the first year. Definitely one of those I'm a prairie keeper things where you have a year in review and you're like, well, I guess I wasn't a very good prairie keeper. I needed to learn a little more about having a successful plant nursery. I did lose some plants in this. Weeds can grow and drop seeds in with your seedlings. That's not very good for them. And like I said, weeds can grow up in front of your sprinkler, and that's going to cost you some seedlings too. So every year is a learning process. Here are what the seedlings were looking like getting into the fall. I really had a problem, and I needed to know what to do with some of these. So luckily, a friend of mine from Massac County, that's Cairo. Has anyone ever heard of Cairo, Illinois? Yeah, it's as far south as you can go in Illinois, and it's a completely different ecosystem. It's like Mississippi. They have cypress swamps down there. If you ever get a chance to go to deep South Illinois, treat yourself to a canoe trip or a kayak trip in the cypress swamps. It's outstanding. It's so beautiful. So Megan worked for the Soil and Water Conservation District in Cairo. And she said, hey, I want to do an event in October. I want to talk about starting a pollinator garden, and I want to bring a bunch of people from my community to learn about having a pollinator garden. So where can I find seeds and to start a pollinator garden? It was the beginning of September when she asked me this. Her event was in 6 weeks. I said, well, I would tell you that you need to be planning for next year, except I have hundreds of plants that I need you to take and make a pollinator garden with these. So that was awesome. I met her, she drove up, I gave her hundreds of plants, I gave her my best plants, and she put them right in the ground. Like you saw with that study, it's relatively easy to turn turf grass into a prairie. All she had to do was herbicide her footprint and then plant right into it. I'm going to tell you one fact that I found out for sure this year, planting a little extension on my pollinator garden. And sorry if you hate herbicide, I do use it, and it is a tool that I need to use for my prairie keeping. The question was, can you spray glyphosate, also known as Roundup, on grass and plant into it the next day? I read that you could, and I remembered hearing that you could. My husband thought he read that too. We went on Google, and AI said, no, you cannot, you need 7 to 10 days. And then my husband found a little workaround to ask that question, and his answer came up, yes, you can plant them right in the next day to where you use that glyphosate. So I took a chance because I was so busy this summer, and sure enough, none of the plants died. So one day was all it needed. I sprayed it one morning, and then the next day, it hadn't rained. I was ready. I put them in the ground, and they all did fine. So that is something you can do. It was so exciting to me. So 6 weeks later, after I gave her the plants, here they were at her pollinator habitat field day. It looks like nobody's there, but everybody was inside. She had a great turnout. It was packed. And this was another pollinator garden of hers. She wanted to try and experiment with seeds. She had gotten some free seeds. So this was a garden that was going to bloom for the rest of fall that she could use as an interpretation garden, something that people who didn't know anything about pollinator habitat could see some flowers and start to make a connection about that. Okay, so next part of being a prairie keeper is seed processing. One thing about Project Wingspan, as I may have mentioned, that has been problematic in recent years is finding someone to process our seeds. It's a very expensive part of Project Wingspan. Seed processing is not hard to do DIY. The only thing is you don't get very clean seed. It's hard to process seeds yourself and get them sparkling clean without any dust, without any frass. It doesn't make them less valuable. So your own initiatives, if you have a local club or you're volunteering with a local group and you want to collect seeds, but you're not exactly sure how are you going to get them processed, this is not hard to do. This was one tool I learned about. It's a block of wood with some hardware cloth over it. I think that it is eighth inch hardware cloth, or maybe quarter-inch hardware cloth. And that's gray-headed coneflower, yellow coneflower, Retividia pinnata. Just took those seed heads, put them on a plank with the 1/8 inch hardware cloth, took the block with the 1/8 inch hardware cloth, rubbed like this, not too hard, and the gray-headed coneflower broke into individual seeds. And they could be screened, I'll show you pictures of that, to filter out some of the dust and plant parts so that you are left with more seed, less of what you don't want. It is so fun and easy to process seeds, and it's great to do holiday season. It's getting cold. You can do it with friends. Definitely important to have the right gear. You want to make sure that you're not getting all this plant dust in your lungs, in your eyes. It's not good for you. You just need some gear to do this. Here's Marty Kemper again, our hero, our prairie hero down south. And this was a workshop he conducted at his prairie, showing us some of the ways you can process seeds. Most importantly were screened boxes. Has anyone worked with screened boxes to process seeds before? Oh gosh, yeah, okay, one person. This is so much fun. It's so exciting because you can get a little grocery bag of seeds. It's not hard to do this. And your screens are really the key. Once you get everything broken up, get the seed heads broken up, different gauges of your hardware cloth, of your screens. That's going to help filter out different sizes of the plant materials and dust. So he would take what we had through the different screens, shake it up, and either the dust or the seeds would fall through, whatever he was going for. And here was a very thin screen on the right. That would get it relatively clean. So he showed us a lot of different ways to do this. I don't have a picture of one of the really fun things that he showed us that I do use. So he had a plastic 50-gallon barrel, and he had a weed whacker, and he stood up on the bed of his truck over the 50-gallon barrel. Picture a 50-gallon barrel with a piece of cardboard, like a big box, laid over the top of it. Then there is a hole in there with a slit. So you can take the weed whacker and put it into that slot in the hole. And then he had a couple bricks holding that down. So his weed whacker, he's pressing to turn it on, and he's weed whacking the seeds in their pods inside, just lightly, not obliterating them, but just breaking up those pods with the weed whacker, and the cardboard was holding the mess of plant materials from flying up and going everywhere and holding the seeds in the barrel. So that was a great way. He used that for milkweed. He used that for, gosh, what did he use that for? Anything like a partridge pea, a lot of the legumes, rather than having to open them all up and pull all the seeds out. That was his quick and dirty way of getting those seeds out of the pods. Since then, I've found a fun way to process milkweed. Of course, you can always take a pod, hold one end, open it up, and you're holding the fluff with your thumb. And then you can take your other thumb, your nail, and pull those seeds right off that cone of fluff. And a lot of people like to do that when they're watching TV. So that's one way to get seeds out of a milkweed pod. Another way, if it's too late, if the pod's opened up and you've got the fluff all unfolded and wanting to fly around everywhere, don't breathe. Just put that fluff on a screen, like one of these screens, and you can light a lighter under it, and you'll get a flash of fire, and it will burn up a lot of the fluff, and then you'll be left with the seeds. They get a little bit of scorched on the outside, and they're fine. That's a really fun way. A note about collecting milkweed seeds. A lot of people tell me they want to wait until the pods open. That way they know that the seeds are ready. They're actually ready sooner than that. My birthday's coming up next week, and that seems to be a day where a lot of milkweed pods are ready because people send me pictures. Here's my grandkids collecting milkweed, like, it's ready already? But I was celebrating my birthday week. We gotta get out there quick. Gotta get those milkweed pods in before they split, because you're gonna get more seeds that way. So if you wanna see if your milkweed pods are ready before they open, what you're looking for are plants that the leaves are turning yellow, leaves are falling. If you see a stalk with milkweed pods, and I am seeing that, the drought seems to be readying the milkweed pretty quickly. Stop and check it out. Go up to a pod, and you'll find a seam running down that pod. Just open one seam and see what color the seeds are. They're going to be green, then white, and then they turn red and brown. So you want the brown, you want the reddish brown seeds. If you open one up and some are green and red, you know they're not ready. But if you open one up and you see they're all reddish brown, that pod is ready. And if you're collecting milkweed pods, you may as well. If you're finding, when you open some of them up, they're brown, start grabbing them. You don't have to wait for those pods to split open. And it's easier because you don't lose seeds, and you won't have them flying all over your basement, your garage, your house. So I recommend. Okay, so I'm going to talk now about prairie management. When you have your prairie, some fun things that are really the height of being a prairie keeper, and also information if you're thinking about applying for a Project Wingspan Seed Award or Plant Material Award. These are things that we are looking for when we're choosing our awardees. So, people who will do a reseeding from time to time. Excuse me, I'm parched. Let me drink a little of my tea. Give me 1 second. Thank you. Okay. So, reseeding, you don't have to wait for a seed award to do it. If you have access to pollinator habitat and you have permission to collect seeds, or if you're volunteering, but you haven't had a lot of experience reseeding, here's how you do it. You take what you've got, whatever seed you've got, and you take as many buckets as you can get your hands on, or smaller containers, like even the ice cream buckets. Whatever you've got, lay them out. Take an enormous barrel, like a 50-gallon barrel that's in half, or whatever kind of tub you can get your hands on, and clay kitty litter. You're going to take all your seeds, and you're going to mix them with clay kitty litter. Mix it up, so that the seeds and the kitty litter are all mixed in and even. And then you're going to add some water. Not a lot of water, because you don't want to make mud. Just enough water that when you reach your hand in and you can squish it together, you're not quite making a seed ball or a seed bomb, but you at least see that the seeds are sticking to the clay particles, and then you know that it's wet enough. You don't want to do it ahead of time. You don't want it to dry out. You want to do this right before you're going to broadcast your seeds. So as many buckets as you've got, and then the next thing you do is you space them evenly on the ground you're working. So if you've got a prairie that you burned, or you're working with expanding an existing prairie, and you're working with soil, you need to get your seed to soil contact. That's so important. Flagging is very helpful too. So you take the area you're working, you take all your buckets, and you just space them out as evenly as possible. Flags are really helpful. That was another idea from Marty Kemper. So what I did was I had a yellow, a red, a yellow, a red, and they were spaced apart by about 8 feet, because I figured that my spread was about 4 feet. So I would walk up one way and walk up the other, in red and yellow and red and yellow, and that helped me kind of go straight. I thought I was kind of crazy for doing this. I thought maybe I was obsessive compulsive for doing this. Then I talked to my friend, the Mennonite beekeeper down in Fayette County, and told him what I did. He said, okay, well, try it my way. This is how we broadcast our field of oats, just like you're talking about. But instead of just going up and back, when we're done with that, then we go sideways, we go crossways, and we do it all again to make sure it's really even. Whew, I didn't do that. And I should have pictures of the prairie that this turned into. It is beautiful, and I have overseeded it and interseeded it 3 more times. It is a 9-year-old prairie. I don't have pictures. I need to get back there and take them. It's very diverse. There's all kinds of stuff in there that I never would have expected, like cream gentian. I don't even remember collecting the cream gentian seeds, but there's a lot of cream gentian out there, and that's what's so cool about it. You just have no idea what's going to come up. There's like 12 different species that I remember. Oh yeah, that would be a dream. I found these seeds. Let's see if those will come up. And sure enough, all it took was some fire and broadcasting the seeds, getting good seed to soil contact. but also the timing of the broadcast is really important. You don't want to do it in the spring. You want to do it in November, December, so those seeds have time to get cold stratification. It's that freezing and thawing that unlocks the seed coat, and then the seed can germinate with the rain in the spring. Oh, yeah, you want as much help as you can get with this. Your friends, maybe someone who wants to be a prairie keeper wants to help you, or at least dogs. They'll help mash that seed into the soil, following you everywhere you go. Fire. This is probably, some of us prairie keepers, this is our favorite part. We get to play with fire and we don't get in trouble. Well, maybe a neighbor will remind us, there's a burn order. You better not be burning right now during a drought. I wouldn't do that right now. And I have plans to do it right now, but you really can't responsibly do a prairie burn during a drought like this. So yeah, you just can't light fires during a drought. People will just hate you, and you don't want to make enemies. So for the pyros out there, this is hard to look at because it makes you want to start a fire, and you can't because it's a no-no. So here's Larry again, my prairie dad, helping me start a fire. It was late September. I like to do the growing season burns. Growing season burns really can knock back your grasses. I have a lot of tall or big blue stem. I have a lot of big blue stem. So I like to hit it in the fall, late September rather, more like just the end of summer, because that'll knock back some of those grasses and bring out a lot more of the flowers. So fire is fun, and it's one of a prairie keeper's favorite things to do. Has anyone here been involved in a controlled burn? Anybody here want to do a controlled burn but hasn't done one yet? You can take a class. You can go online and you can take the Native Wildland Firefighters course. If you live way out in the country, like I do, the whole thing will be free. The last step in becoming a certified Native Wildland firefighter is you go and get together with these firemen, and they will teach you how to do controlled burns. And there's a charge for that when you live in town to support the fire department. But if you live in the country, sometimes you get away with that, I think because they're volunteers, so I don't know. Here is what Larry and I did to my prairie with all of that excitement. We burned it, and the beauty of it, this is December. In southern Illinois, it's still pretty warm. I was able to get a lot of plugs in the ground, and I flagged them, which was kind of pointless. I don't know. It made me feel good to flag them, but ultimately, you're not going to find those flags once everything comes up. So that is the fun of fire. And this is what Project Wingspan starts to look like at the end of October, when now volunteers do send seeds in. Project Wingspan pays for the postage to get the seeds from the teams to the processors. But some people just don't like to take bags of seeds to the post office. Some people are just anti-mailing stuff, and they like to collect the seeds, but they don't want to go to the post office. So I do a drive and I collect these people's seeds. So I'd much rather have them and make a little loop up north and a loop down south and grab everybody's seeds that didn't want to go to the post office and bring them home and send them myself. So this is what it starts looking like, bags and bags and bags of seeds. And this is my car. My car is always dirty because I'm always driving in the country on gravel roads. And this is a hatchback. You can see that my entire car was filled with seeds, like completely packed, not very safe. All the windows were completely packed except for the windshield. So the Mason State Tree Nursery in 2023, that was the last year we got to work with them, and this is why we don't work with them anymore, because it was taking them over. All of these bins are the Illinois seeds for Project Wingspan, and the table is the other states. So we had a ton of seeds. And what you're looking at here is the division of regions and species. So you remember we had 3 bioregions, North, Central, and South Illinois. And all of the foxglove beard tongue from Northern Illinois went into one bin. All of the Monarda fistulosa from Southern Illinois went into another bin. It was amazing how much seed we had in these bins. You can see them starting to fill up. This was my last shipment to them, and I think it was really the 3rd shipment I made in my car to them. It was too much, all the way over here. Just all of this was my last shipment to them, and it was too much. Maybe Project Wingspan will start working with volunteers to process our own seed. Maybe we'll have to change our model. I don't know, because we keep growing. So is it too much of a good thing, though? It can never be too much of a good thing. Oh, and this is the flyer for your event on October 10th here in Bloomington, in Normal, actually Normal, not Bloomington, but Normal. All the parks are in Normal. And the town of Normal has been really awesome in helping us build the Normal team. So unfortunately, some people will be at the Master Naturalist conference that day, Friday, October 10th. But if you are not at that conference, I hope you'll join us. What we're doing now is a 1-hour training at 10 a.m., and then we'll have 2 hours of seed collection, and we'll split up into 3 groups. Some people will go to Hidden Creek, some people will go to Underwood Park, and we'll be in Anderson Park too. That's where we're gonna do the training. I was just at not all 3, I went to Hidden Creek last year, but I did go to Underwood Park and Anderson Park today just to scout out and see where are these species. So they're all gonna be good places to collect. Anderson Park, I think, needs some volunteer help, but they're also about to really do some work controlling Japanese hops. So I was talking with Gene, can't remember his last name, but he is the manager of all of the parks, doing the maintenance of them. And he was talking about his plan to try to eradicate the Japanese hops. What I'm gonna see is if he has enough manpower, once he's burned off these Japanese hops and created some space to find some higher quality areas, that we could do a plug award to the parks. So we'll see if he has enough people on staff, or if he has connection to volunteers to help make something like that happen and enhance that, those pollinator stands on either side of the creek there in Anderson Park. But let me know if you are going to be around that morning. If you have experience, if you're good at identifying species, if you've ever collected seeds before, you can help me split up into the 3 groups. Having one person that can show volunteers, this is New England aster, this is rigid goldenrod. We're not collecting them yet, they're not gonna be ready on October 10th, but gray-headed coneflower, wild bergamot. There's Joe Pyeweed at Anderson Park. Underwood Park had, well, I guess they had a whole lot of, bee balm, the wild bergamot, and also a lot of eastern purple coneflower. All the parks have eastern purple coneflower, and we love to collect that because pollinators love it and it's beautiful. So let me know if you're gonna be around that day and if you wanna help out with that, or if you wanna come and just help us collect, because that's what we need, is people who have 3 hours on a Friday morning to grab some seeds with us. Have some questions. There's another thing on the table too. I made 10 copies of it. It's a calendar of 4 events, including your event, happening in this central Illinois area, going as far as a little over an hour away. We're doing a collection event at the Dixon Waterfowl Refuge. I think that's actually the same day. That's the 10th in the afternoon after we collect here. So if you want to come out there, we're going to be doing that. Also, there's a collection in Leroy at Janet Schroeder's house. She has wonderful stands of joke pieweed, also mountain mint, and lots of eastern purple coneflower and monarda. We're also going up to, I guess I must have put Marseilles on there, but that's a bit of a hike too. So, but some people do it. We do have people coming from Bloomington all the way up there to help us collect seeds, so it's fun. So go ahead and take that, and there's also, if you want more information, give me your name and email address, and I'll send you an email and let you know what we're doing. Thanks. Oh, yeah, hi. No, is it on? I don't hear you. I mean, I hear you, but yeah. I'll repeat your question if we can't get the mic on. Here it is. Let's see if it works.
With Parklands, and this Thursday we're going to collect a lot of seeds. We did it 2 years ago, and the seeds ended up in my basement, spread out on a tray, and then we put them out in the winter about the time it snowed. My question is, when we collect on Thursday, do we need to worry about moisture and them degrading by the time we plant them again in November, December, as you were suggesting?
That's a good question. So moisture is always an issue to be mindful of when collecting seeds, in 2 ways, actually. When you're collecting, when we have a lot of dew in the morning, we can be collecting wet seed heads. We usually try not to collect wet seed heads because it's likely that they'll mold. So that's the other concern about moisture. When you have a collection of seed heads and they're coming green off a plant, or even, off a plant, there's still a little bit of life left in the plant, and the seeds can sometimes have their own moisture. There needs to be airflow, and there needs to be a way for the seeds to dry. It's dangerous to leave them in a bag where they can mold. Now, that said, I have broken a lot of rules. Last year, I collected seeds in the rain because I was there. And so what I did was I brought them home and I laid them all out, just like you said. I spread them out really well, just, not layering them up, but spread them out in the basement on newspaper, and they all were fine. They dried out fine. Another time, when I've been running all around, going to all these seed collection events, collecting milkweed pods, or someone gives me a big bag of milkweed pods, you can't just leave them in the bag. They will mold, and mold will destroy those seeds. So what you do if someone happens to give you some pods, or if you're collecting and the only bag you have is like a grocery bag or some plastic bag, you gotta get them into a paper grocery bag, and you want to go in there a couple times a day and just stir them up, and they'll be fine. They'll dry fine. But yeah, you definitely want to do like what you did so that they can dry and there won't be any degradation. They'll come out fine. Where are you doing the seed collection? Where's the site that you're collecting at tomorrow? Thursday, yeah. Oh, neat. Great. That's another parkland site? Awesome. That's great. Up. Okay, you raised your hand.
I just want to give you an alternate suggestion instead of the cat litter. I have used It's pelleted horse bedding. You can get them out at Farm and Fleet or Tractor Supply. And it's relatively inexpensive, and you mix it with water and it fluffs up, and it really holds the seed really well, and it's not mucky and yucky like cat litter would be. So you might want to look into that.
What's it?
It's
Pelleted?
called pelleted horse bedding.
Oh, pelleted horse bed.
And so it's a wood product. So you add water to it and it fluffs up, and it's just a perfect carrier for seeds.
I like that. I'll tell you why. That clay doesn't just get mucky on your hands. That clay dries out your hands. And you're going out there and it's cold, and then your hands are in terrible shape when you get done with that. And you know what else can be in terrible shape when you get done broadcasting seeds? Shoulders. Oh my gosh. And elbows. So you got to be really careful. You don't want to overdo. Definitely stretch. Before you do this stuff, make sure you stretch your arms, stretch your shoulders, because more than once I've really messed up my shoulder and had pain for like a week after doing this. We got to take care of our joints. Thanks for that suggestion. I love it.
Just don't use the whole bag at once. Just do a little bit of the bag at once. It's designed to go down in a horse stall, so it'll fluff up quite a bit.
Don't use it all at once, because a little goes a long way. It's going to fluff up really big.
Yeah.
Thank you. You had a question?
How long will seeds remain viable? Years?
Every species is different. So how long will seeds remain viable? Like years? All the seeds are different. Some seeds have a longer shelf life than others, but they do decline in their viability, some of them pretty quickly. Seeds dry out, is why. That's the other thing. You want them dry, but you don't want them too dry. Some species, like Ohio spiderwort, that one can really dry out. That one you can't really hang on to for more than a year, is what I understand. And we collect that early. So you want to get that out in the fall. I don't know exactly which seeds survive how long, but yeah, you want to try to get them out as soon as possible. And if you're not sure about some seeds, throw them in the mix, but don't count on them too much. Have questions?
This is a silly question, maybe. What's the name of the tool that you use to collect and hold the seed head? I think the second slide had a picture of it.
Collect a seed head, the tool. I mean, a lot of times we use garden snips.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people like to use garden snips. I will just use scissors. I think you're talking about this picture where it was cold outside. Maybe, this one?
Yeah, oh, that is, okay.
Yeah, just some garden snips. They're getting some narrow leaf mountain mint real late in the season.
Have you seen the clippers that actually hold they don't cut, I mean, they cut it, but they also hold the seed head?
No.
Okay.
That sounds neat.
Yeah, I wish I knew the name of it.
That sounds great. Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's another thing. See, these gloves. Gloves are important, too. Wearing gloves is really important. There's a lot of ways to wreck your hands with seed collecting. And snips. I remember last year I snipped my finger when I was collecting, too. That's not fun. That's why I hate snips. I'm clumsy. So I use scissors. Sometimes I don't even use scissors or snips, because you get kind of a way to snap that seed off. That's hard on the joints too. So it's good to be in as top physical condition as you can be. I have arthritis, so I have to be pretty careful. But yeah, gloves, protect yourself in any way you can. Bug spray, you have got to have bug spray, because there are still ticks, and the chiggers, you don't want that. And there's so many diseases you can get from ticks. And I have gotten diseases from ticks, and it is not fun. You've got to use bug spray, sunscreen, and it's really important too. You don't want to pick up seeds from unintended species on your clothes. So it's great. To another piece of gear you can have is a big brush, like a big shoe brush. You can brush off your clothes. One more life hack for prairie keepers. One thing that's blooming out there, it's pretty in pink, is the what beggar's seed tick. The I don't know what else we call that. Wonderful seed that it leaves that's flat and sticks to your clothes, and you'll be walking through, and it's so, a lot of times you don't even notice it, and then your clothes are just covered. Beggar's lice, is that? But yeah, but guess what? There's an amazing way to get that off your clothes. A lot of your clothes will release that with a baby wipe. So you might be covered on your jeans, you just take a baby wipe. You wouldn't believe how those seeds come off and stick to the baby wipe. So always bring baby wipes when you're out there. Always bring water when you're out there too, because everybody gets thirsty.